Hello everyone, let's discuss chemistry paper solution. Question number 1, mass number of longest lived radioisotope. In this question, he is talking about francium because we know in group 1 elements only francium is radioactive, right? So the correct answer would be this one. The periodic property which is greater for potassium as compared to sodium, okay, down the group density increases, right, but as far as sodium and potassium is concerned, potassium does not have higher density, it has lower density, right. Melting point decrease, then ionization enthalpy also decreases, so the only property for which potassium has a higher value is atomic radius, right, because atomic radii increase down the group. Alkali metal forms mixture of oxide and nitride. The only alkali metal which forms nitride on reaction with air is lithium, right? So we have to find out the incorrect statement. Imparts crimson color, yes, remember the flame colors of alkali and alkaline earth metals, lithium gives crimson red. Then it forms peroxide when burnt in excess of air, this is incorrect. Lithium when burnt in excess of air produces monoxide, Li2O, okay? So this becomes our correct answer. KO2 is paramagnetic and colored, yes, because KO2 is a superoxide, right, and superoxides are colored. KO2 contains one unpaired electron in pi 3p bonding molecular orbital, this part is incorrect, right, because superoxide ion contains one unpaired electron in pi star 2p, right, anti-bonding and 2p, not 3p, right. So this becomes a correct answer. Statement 1 is correct and statement 2 is incorrect. Standard enthalpy of formation of RBF. The stability of fluorides decreases down the group because rubidium is a smaller cation as compared to cesium. So it will have greater enthalpy of formation. So this becomes a correct answer, okay. Solubility of lithium iodide and potassium iodide in ethanol are respectively S1 and S2, right. Now ethanol as compared to water is less polar solvent. And can you tell me out of Li and Ki which has greater amount of covalent character? Of course LiI, because lithium is a smaller cation, higher polarizing power. So lithium iodide has greater amount of covalent character, so it will be more soluble in ethanol, right. So S1 will be greater than S2. Which of the following when reacts with NaOH liberates a flammable gas? That's zinc, right. You can see the reaction. Zinc when reacts with sodium hydroxide, it forms sodium zincate plus hydrogen gas, okay, that's flammable. LiF is more soluble in water than LiCl? No, actually this is a sort of exception because lithium fluoride has very high lattice enthalpy. Lithium is a very small cation and fluoride is a very small anion, so because of higher lattice enthalpy it is not more soluble than LiCl. And LiF is more ionic than LiCl? Yes, that is correct because fluoride is smaller than chloride and hence fluoride ion is more difficult to polarize. So this has more ionic character, okay. So this becomes our answer. The equation I minus gives IO3 minus. Calculate the oxidation states. Here it is -1 and here it is +5. So how many electrons it is giving up? 6 electrons. Because electrons are produced, oxidation is loss of electrons. So we will add them on the right hand side, on the side of the products, right. In this case, you have to find out what is the equivalent weight of S2O3. Again, this is a game of finding out the oxidation states. If you find out the oxidation state, this will be +2 and this will be +6, alright. So each sulfur is going from +2 to +6, that is 4 electrons are lost per sulfur atom. And here we have 2 sulfur atoms, so 8 electrons, right. Now equivalent weight is molar mass divided by n factor, so our answer is m by 8, clear. Metallic copper dissolves in conc HNO3 to give this and this. The question is number of electrons in oxidation half reaction and reduction half reaction, okay. Now what happens in oxidation half reaction? Copper goes from 0 to +2, right. So how many electrons are appearing? 2 electrons appearing. In the reduction half reaction, you can see nitrate, right, HNO3, nitrate is going to NO2. If you calculate the oxidation state, you will find that here it is +5, here it is +4, right. That is nitrogen is only gaining 1 electron, right? So 2:1 becomes our answer, correct? In this reaction, you have to find out the equivalent weight of reductant. Reductant is reducing agent which undergoes oxidation. Can you tell me which species is undergoing oxidation? So N2H4, okay? Hydrazine is getting oxidized to nitrogen, okay? So here the oxidation state is 0 because it's an element, and it is -2. So can you tell me how many electrons are lost? -2 to 0, 2 electrons, and there are 2 nitrogen atoms, so a total of 4 electrons. Is that clear? So from there we have the answer, but reducing agent is H2O2, right? Here the oxidation state of oxygen is -1, and in water it is -2. So 1 electron per oxygen atom, and there are 2 oxygen atoms. So N factor is 2. Is that clear? Conc HNO3 cannot act as an oxidizing agent. See, if it is acting as an oxidizing agent, the other species should be oxidized. But if you look at carefully at this species, then the oxidation number of lead is +4. Now you guys know that lead has 4 valence electrons. It cannot be oxidized further. So this becomes our answer. For this reaction, what is the incorrect statement in the balanced equation? Sulfuric acid is reduced? No, you can check out the oxidation state. It's +6, and here also it's +6. It's only acting as an acid, losing 1 proton. So this is the incorrect, hence becomes our answer. Other 3 statements are correct. You can check them out. 8.4 gram of a metal carbonate on heating liberates 2.24 liter of CO2. So first, here we are given the mass. So let us convert this to mass, okay? So W by M is equal to V divided by 22.4. I am doing this for carbon dioxide, simple mole concept, right? So W divided by 44, the molar mass of CO2, and the volume is 2.24, right? And 22.4 liter is the molar volume. Is that correct? So this molar mass will come out to be 4.4 gram, okay? Now, as per the law of chemical equivalence, their equivalents will be equal. So the gram equivalence of metal carbonate will be equal to the gram equivalence of metal oxide, okay? Alright, gram equivalence of metal carbonate will be equal to gram equivalence of metal oxide. For metal carbonate, gram equivalent is given mass 8.4 divided by equivalent weight. Now this compound has 2 species metal, for which let us suppose the equivalent weight is E. And what is the equivalent weight of a carbonate? N factor is 2, the charge, molar mass is 60, 60 by 2 is 30, right? So the mass of metal carbonate 8.4 divided by the equivalent weight of the compound, which is metal plus carbonate, equal to the gram equivalents of metal oxide. Now 8.4 gram of the metal carbonate has 4.4 gram of CO2. So you can tell me what is remaining is 8.4 minus 4.4. So 4 gram of metal oxide is remaining. So this is 4 gram, right? Divided by the equivalent weight of metal oxide, which will be simple. Equivalent weight of metal, which is E, because it is going to remain same, and oxygen, it is 8. So it is simple. Students, you solve this equation, you will get the value of E. Clear? The answer is 12. Which of the following cannot be the equivalent weight of orthophosphoric acid? What is orthophosphoric acid? H3PO4. It is a triprotic acid, right? That is, it can give 1 proton, 2 proton, 3 protons, right? So its equivalent weight, the molar mass of phosphoric acid is 98 gram per mole. If it gives 1 proton, its equivalent weight is 98 by 1, right? For acids, and equivalent weight is molar mass divided by N factor, okay? And N factor is number of H plus replaceable per molecule. If it gives 2H plus ion, then it is 98 by 2. If it gives all the 3 H plus ions, then it is 98 by 3. So obviously this is not possible. It does not have 4 protons, right? Oxalic acid discharges purple color of acidified KMnO4. The question is, how many moles of CO2 are produced for 5 moles of oxalic acid? So this is a very important reaction, you guys should remember. Oxalic acid, like oxalate, on oxidation it gives you CO2. Right, obviously 1 mole of oxalic acid will give 2 moles of CO2 because there are 2 carbons, and so you can tell for 5 moles we will get 10 moles, twice simple, right? The difference in energy between an anti-bonding orbital and the atomic orbital is E1. and the difference in energy between bonding and corresponding atomic orbital is E2. So let me tell you an interesting thing here. When two atomic orbitals combine to form two molecular orbitals, the destabilization by an anti-bonding orbital is slightly greater than the stabilization by the bonding molecular orbital. So E1 is greater than E2. Clear? The incorrect statement, VBT considers bonds as localized, correct. MOT considers electrons delocalized, yes, molecular orbitals. VBT bond angle in ammonia is 90, yes, because here we assume that the three bonds are formed by px orbital, py orbital and pz orbital. Now you guys know what are the bond angles between px, py and pz, 90 degrees, right? So as per VBT, bond angle should have been 90 degree in ammonia, but we later know that hybridization justifies the bond angles of approximately 109.5. So MOT predicts the molecular shape. Yes, this is incorrect. MOT does not predict the molecular shape. The bond order in Be2, bond order you can find out, it will be sigma 1s2. You just write out, fill the molecular orbitals, okay. Sigma 1s2, sigma star 1s2, sigma 2s2, sigma star 2s2, right? What is the bond order, guys? It is half the difference between bonding electrons minus anti-bonding electrons, okay. Anti-bonding electrons are the ones which are kept in star, okay. So this is 4 electrons in bonding orbitals minus 4 electrons in anti-bonding orbitals. So you can see the bond, which means that this molecule does not exist, okay. So this is our answer. Next, when two atomic, based on the LCO, LCO guys is linear combination of atomic orbitals, right, addition and subtraction. So when two atomic orbitals combine, they form two molecular orbitals, clear. When iodine oxidizes this ion, oxidation number of sulfur in the product is, then this is a very important reaction. The product is this, right? This is thiosulfate and this is tetrathionate. You can find out the oxidation number here. It will come out to be plus 5/2. Is that clear, guys? So this is our answer, right? Extent of hydrogen bond is maximum in which? Obviously you can predict solid H2O, right? Because greater the extent of hydrogen bond, stronger will be the attractive forces, and we know as the strength of attractive forces increases, substance tends to go from gas to liquid to solid, right? Intermolecular hydrogen bond results in decrease in melting point. See, what is intermolecular hydrogen bond? The bond between two different molecules, right? So if it so happens, the melting point will be higher because it will be difficult to separate the molecules. Decrease in molecular mass, it has nothing to do with that, right? Decrease in viscosity, no, viscosity will increase. So it results in decrease in vapor pressure. Yes, if the greater intermolecular attractive forces, less number of molecules will go into the vapor phase. Hydrogen bond is not present in, this is very easy, CH2Cl2, right? Chlorine does not show hydrogen bonding. Here we have phenol and ice, water, they will show hydrogen bonding. So this becomes our answer. Boiling point of ethanol is higher than that of dimethyl ether. Yes, ethanol exhibits hydrogen bonding. But in case of dimethyl ether, intermolecular hydrogen bonding is not possible because we do not have a hydrogen attached to fluorine, oxygen or nitrogen. So this is correct. It has hydrogen bonding, stronger attractive forces, so boiling point will be higher. Ethanol involves in intramolecular hydrogen bonding. No, it's inter, right? So first is correct, second is incorrect. Clear? Number of 90-degree bond angles present in SF6. So if you will find out the steric number, it will come out to be 6. Sulfur has 6 electrons, all are distributed with 6 fluorine atoms, and I know that you guys know it's a pretty common molecule. So how many 90-degree bond angles? Okay, let's just count. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? These are 4 90-degree angles. Then this axial fluorine, 190, 290, 390, 490. So 4 plus 4, 8. Okay, guys. And then this axial fluorine, it will form 190-degree angle with this, another with this, another with this, and another with this, right? So in total, you have 12 angles. So that is our correct answer, right? Non-linear molecule, it's simple. You find out the steric number, predict their molecular shape, and then you will find out that CO2 is linear. XeF2, you have lone pairs. So geometry is trigonal bipyramidal, but the shape is linear. And SO2, yes, it is bent. So this becomes our answer, right? Clear? Assuming Z axis as the internuclear axis, the incorrect statement. sp2 hybrid orbitals are 120. That's correct, right? 3 angles of 120 each. sp hybrid orbitals formed by mixing of 1s and px orbitals. Now this you will have to see, right? Because what is the difference between a sigma bond and a pi bond? In case of sigma bond, the orbital axes are parallel to the internuclear axis, which means that if you are taking Z as the internuclear axis, then if you want a p orbital to form a pi bond, it should lie along this, right? And in that case, this p orbital will be pz. It cannot be px. Px orbital will form pi bond. Okay, so this becomes our answer. Two py orbitals of two atoms can form a sigma bond. I just explained to you, right? They can only form sigma bond if they approach along y axis. If they approach along x or z axis, they will form pi bonds, right? The hybridization of carbon atoms in 1, 2 and 3. So you can check that out. Here we have a pi bond, so it is sp2 hybridization. Here again a pi bond, so sp2 hybridization, and then there is all 4 bonds are sigma, so it has to have a sp3 hybridization. Clear? So this becomes our correct answer, right? Which of the following species having more number of pi bonds? You find out the shape and then you predict how many pi bonds they will have. It will have 3 pi bonds. It will have obviously 2. XeO4, it has 4 pi bonds, right? And this has 1. So yes, the answer is XeO4, right? Which one of the following is not a tetrahedral species? You can check that. This is tetrahedral, 4 valence electrons, 4 valence electrons, 4 valence electrons. In case of sulfur, we have 6 valence electrons. So there is one lone pair. Guys, steric number is the key, okay? So this is a shape, seesaw. The hybridization of all carbon atoms in benzene. Now benzene has 1 pi bond, right? With on each carbon atom. Each carbon atom in benzene forms a pi bond. So the hybridization is sp2. 1 p orbital is used up in forming pi bond, right? Total number of lone pairs in SO2 violating octet rule. That means the sulfur is not restricted to have only 8 valence electrons. So we know that if we do not obey octet rule, this is the structure of SO2 and there is one lone pair on sulfur, and when the question is about the total number of lone pairs, then you should also look at all the peripheral atoms, all the boundary atoms. So you guys know that they belong to the same family, so they will have 2 lone pairs each. So the answer is 5, correct? Such questions have been asked many times in the previous year. Identify the correct relationship regarding second ionization enthalpy. Now this is a basic, okay? Argon and potassium. For argon, it's a noble gas. Its first ionization enthalpy will be very high because removal of electron disturbs its configuration. But for potassium, it has 1 electron in 4s orbital. It will lose that easily. First ionization enthalpy will be very high. But after losing 1 electron, potassium attains the electronic configuration of argon. So for potassium, second ionization enthalpy will be very high. So this becomes our answer. Brine is NaCl when saturated first with ammonia and then with CO2. This is a Solvay process. You guys should revise it if you have some doubt in it. When filtered, gives a white residue. Okay, so this will be NaHCO3 and the filtrate be solid A when heated strongly. Now what happens when NaHCO3? See, if you combine, this is acid guys and this is base, so what will form your salt? So NaHCO3, and when you will heat it strongly, you get washing soda, Na2CO3. That's how you get it, right? So this is the correct answer. Clear? Sodium compound A is efflorescent. Yes, we know washing soda is one efflorescent compound of sodium. White crystalline solid, on heating it forms a hydrated compound. Okay, then efflorescence is the loss of water molecules either on heating or on exposure to air, atmosphere. So Na2CO3, it is decahydrate, guys. So when you heat it, first it loses 9 molecules of crystallization, and then if you heat it beyond above 373 Kelvin, then it is called a soda ash, right? It gives you just Na2CO3, it is called soda ash. So this becomes our answer. Clear? The volume of dry hydrogen gas liberated at STP when 7 gram of lithium. Okay, so you would be thinking, okay, ethine is acidic and lithium is an alkali metal, it should react, but the point is lithium does not react because ionization enthalpy of lithium is very high, right? So lithium does not react with ethine to liberate hydrogen gas. So the answer becomes 0. For this, you should balance it, but I think there is no need to do this. You can just understand here the oxidation state of fluorine is -1 and here it is 0, right? So what is happening to fluorine? Oxidation or reduction? Its oxidation number is increasing. So fluorine is getting oxidized. So that means fluoride is a stronger reducing agent than A, right? Because this species is getting reduced and this is getting oxidized, fluoride ion, okay? Here in the balanced reaction, mole ratio of bromide to bromine, it is easy how you just see their oxidation numbers, okay? You will find that it is +5, it is -1 and it is 0, okay? So +5 to 0, you need 5 electrons, so you will need 5 bromide ions, right? And you count the total number of bromine, it will be 6, that is it is 3. So the ratio will be 5:3. Clear? Just on the basis of number of electrons. For this, okay, this is a reaction that happens in lead acid battery. It is simple. Pb plus PbO2 plus 2H2SO4 gives 2PbSO4 plus 2H2O, right? Because both will form sulfate, so we will need 2 molecules of sulfuric acid. So X is equal to Y is equal to Z, and then only 2 molecules of water will form, correct? You have to identify the correct statement. H2 plus and H2 minus are equally stable. No, I think I'll have to do that for you. So let's do it. It's sigma 1s2, right? H2 only 2 electrons. H2 plus sigma 1s1, right? Again, molecular orbital theory. And H2 minus, it is sigma 1s2 and sigma star 1s1. Now, the bond order of hydrogen is 1. You don't have to calculate. So hydrogen is most stable. Now out of H2 plus and H2 minus, you can calculate both their bond orders will be half. Then remember, stability of a species is directly proportional to bond order. If bond order happens to be same, then stability depends inversely on the number of anti-bonding electrons. So because it has one anti-bonding electron, H2 plus will be more stable and H2 minus will be less stable. Is that clear, guys? So this becomes our answer. H2 minus is less stable than H2 plus, correct? According to molecular orbital theory, the true statement regarding for both O2 and CO2, both are paramagnetic? No, you can find that out. C2 is diamagnetic because pi 2px2 and pi 2py2, right? It does not have any unpaired electron. Is that okay? But bond order is same. Bond order is same because if you find out, write the electronic configuration, then you will find out that there is double bond in oxygen and there is a double bond in carbon, right? Now one interesting thing is that in case of oxygen, one bond is sigma and one bond is pi as expected, but in case of C2, both bonds are pi, and the explanation is right in front of you because all the 4 bonding electrons are present in pi molecular orbitals, right? Clear, guys? You have to find out the boiling point. Okay, then if you look at the individual hydrogen bonds, then HF forms the strongest bond, but you see HF cannot form as many hydrogen bonds as water molecule can. Each water molecule forms 4 bonds, right, per molecule, 2 for hydrogen and 2 for oxygen because oxygen has 2 lone pairs, right? So water has the highest boiling point followed by HF and then we have ammonia, right? The pair of molecules with same shape, you can work out their shapes, then you will find out that both BF3 and SO3, they are trigonal planar. Clear guys? PCl3 is pyramidal, H2O is bent, CO2 is linear, and then BF2 is linear and H2O is bent. So this is the only option, and yes, both are same shape. In PF5, number of equatorial bonds is X and axial bonds is Y. Obviously in PF5, the only two types of bonds are there, equatorial and axial, right? So the sum will be 5, right? According to Vesper theory, AB3E2, see AB3E2, that means B and E represent the number of bond pairs and lone pairs. So we have a total of 5 pairs, that is the steric number is 5. Now when the steric number is 5, the geometry is trigonal bipyramidal, and you guys should remember that in trigonal bipyramidal geometry, lone pairs occupy equatorial positions because they face less repulsion there. So this becomes your correct answer, right? 2 lone pairs will be present at equatorial position, 1 lone pair equatorial position, even 3 lone pairs all at equatorial positions, right? False statement regarding the structure of SO3. So it's coming up again and again. The hybridization in SO3 is sp2, that is, you know the meaning of hybridization. 1 s orbital and 2 p orbital, they have mixed up, they have formed hybrid orbitals, they are not available to form pi bonds. So we have the third p orbital, right, to form pi bond, which means that 1 pi bond will be p pi type, and but here you can see 3 pi bonds. So the remaining 2 will be d pi p pi bonds. Is that clear guys? Sulfur will use it will have to use its d orbitals, right? So 2 p pi bonds are not there, 1 p pi bond is there. Maximum number of atoms present in one plane in SF6. Okay, the maximum atoms will be, can you look at this structure and tell me? If you will see, you will realize that all these atoms lie in one plane, right? All these atoms lie in one plane, so there are 5 atoms. In case of PCl5, on the equatorial plane, how many atoms are there? 4 atoms, right? 1 central atom and 3 peripheral atoms. So 5 plus 4 is equal to 9. So this is our correct answer. Thank you everyone.